What is going on, good people? We back at it again. Flock Nation Speaks, your Baltimore Ravens podcast, where we talk about the best team in NFL history. Really hard to say that after a game like this, if you're a Ravens fan, of course. But oh man, what a disappointment, man. Let's just not even waste any time with this instant reactions video, okay? Kind of giving my knee-jerk reaction before I look too deep into anything, too deep into film, too deep into the stats, too deep into, just basically off the eye test what I thought of this game against the Browns. First things first, I will say this. It's funny because trying to, laugh to keep yourself from crying here. Look, when it comes to the Ravens versus the Browns have been far more on the receiving end of these type of losses than the Ravens have. The Ravens have been saved so many times playing badly or playing down the competition or just playing not as well as they should be playing. They have done that several times against the Browns and somehow found a way to win. So, part of me wants to say, like, eventually it has to happen, right? Eventually they have to be on the good end of this type of thing if I'm going to be on the positive side of everything. But overall, it's weird because, like, typically I feel like you come into a game like this, you lose 33-31. You start the game off with a pick six. Keaton Mitchell just goes off in the first quarter. I mean, the Ravens are a first quarter team. They might not be any other quarter team, but they are a first quarter team. Because they, there was even a stat about it, how well they do in the first quarter. But it's just it's crazy, man. And I'm struggling right now with coming up with the words to even what to say about this darn game, man. I've had a little bit of time to think about it a little bit and just try to get my thoughts together on what the heck the Ravens did today. And it was weird because, I said in the last video that this was kind of another one of those like statement style games, right? One of those games where you want to make a statement against a division rival simply because somebody's got to change the trajectory of what the AFC North is, right? Or like, if you want to dominate the AFC North, you can't play like the rest of the AFC North, if that makes sense, right? And I get it. It's hard nosed and, slow it down. And, but I mean, and this is the crazy part about it, because the Ravens won up, 24-9, I think it was. They were up 24-9. And I think it was early in the second quarter. And then mistakes started to pile up and the Ravens couldn't just, let's just be honest about it, couldn't get out of their own way, as they oftentimes have done this season. This season in their losses, especially, and last season in all of those blown leads, it felt like too, whether it was turnovers on the offensive end or was the defense just not playing, just playing well at times, but then at other times just getting ran over. And it's tough because here's the thing, like, I want to be disappointed and I want to be frustrated. And the hope is, like, and I think Coach Evans was talking about it on his caller show. He was saying, you want to be 3-1 every quarter, right? So, like, if this is the one loss and they can beat the Bengals and they can beat the Chargers before going into the bye week, I mean, that'll be big. That'll be, I think, honestly, this is just my opinion. If the Ravens are going to lose to a team within the division in this tough stretch they got right now, I would rather it be the Browns over the Bengals. I want, just because I think, not that the Browns are not going to be there at the end, because I think they will, but I think you more likely to see the Bengals in the playoffs than you are to see the Browns in the playoffs, I think. Especially, and I'm saying later on in the playoffs, right? I'm saying later on, I'm saying hopefully after the first round matchup, hopefully after, deep in the playoffs, you're going to see the Bengals. But it's frustrating. It's frustrating because the Ravens have so much potential to be a really good team, and they can't get out of their own way. And I can't help but feel like that's goes back to coaching again, right? Like, yes, Lamar didn't play his best game. It wasn't a great game running the ball. It didn't feel like receivers were really open. The offensive line got dominated throughout this entire game, but albeit they were playing against one of the best fronts in the league. But I mean, let's just be honest, you're gonna face some really good fronts. San Francisco, if you happen to make it to the Super Bowl and San Francisco is lining up on the other side of you, they're gonna have Chase Young and Joey Bosa coming after you. So it's just one of those things. You're gonna face good fronts. So that being an excuse, that can't be an excuse. And even with injuries, and that's the thing. Like, I think that's the biggest thing, and that's why in games like this, when you start out really well, like you start out on fire, and then somehow, for some reason, you get flat, you get passive, you get complacent, you start to just get conservative in your game plan. I think that's why I want to put these type of losses on coaching more than I want to do, more than I want to say execution, because first things first, the Ravens got beat up in the trenches on both sides of the ball. The Ravens got beat up with the offense, and I know they're missing offensive linemen and stuff like that, but once again, that's up to the coach to call a play to not put your offensive line in a bind, right? If that, I don't. What game was that where there was a game this season where the Ravens were beating people up with the intermediate throws, with the short and intermediate throws, and they didn't really go downfield, and that's okay, right? Like, I don't know what. That's weird to me too. Like, you see, you're kind of at a disadvantage just because of injuries. You lose Ronnie Stanley in this game. You don't have Morgan Moses on the other side, right? Lele is in the game. You got Makari playing whatever position you need him to play, pretty much. And it's just, and you playing against rookie corners, right? Because of the situation going on in Cleveland too, and you don't attack that, even like I said, kind of in the intermediate. Because let's be honest, like, some of the best plays we saw was 10 yards down the field, or a slant to OBJ, for example, or a comeback route, like more kind of a hitch from Zay Flowers, where he gets the defender on his toes and then he turns on the dime and comes back to the ball. And I feel like that's something that we didn't really see in this game, and that's why, like, my frustration goes back to coaching more than it goes on anything else. Don't get me wrong, Lamar didn't play well. Lamar had one bad pick and one unlucky pick, which I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I don't know about y'all, like the rest of Ravens flock, the rest of y'all out there watching, but does it feel like the Ravens are the most unlucky team, or the unluckiest, whatever the word is, right? Like, they gotta be the unluckiest team when it comes to tipped balls, man. Like, when it comes to the ball being tipped up, like, it's gonna hang in the air, glide in the air, and it's gonna slowly come down. It's not one of those things where it gets tipped, it falls straight down. Because then when it does get tipped and it falls straight down, it's usually a fumble. So it's either way, it's a lose-lose. But to me, man, like I said, I want to put it on coaching. I think Lamar threw a bad pick on whatever the heck that play was to Bateman, and the tip pick you can't do nothing about. Let's just be honest, you can't do nothing about it. But other than that, like, just like I said, from the eye test, not truly seeing film, not seeing the all 22, anything like that, just seeing what they showed us in real time and what we saw in replays. It didn't feel like anybody was really open, and it felt like schematically, once again, the Ravens weren't adjusting, especially in the passing game. We'll talk about the running game in a second, but especially in the passing game, the Ravens were not adjusting to the pressure they were getting. The Ravens weren't adjusting, and I don't know if that's on Lamar to make that adjustment, or if for example, if Lamar is not making that adjustment, or if it's not for Lamar to make that adjustment, and it's for the coaching staff to say, all right, we gonna always have this quick underneath route, this quick check down. Like, it was even hard to feel like there was check downs that were open today, and it felt like, especially early on in the season, especially the last couple of games where you've been playing well, when you go to the Seahawks game, when you go to the Lions game, right? These games you played pretty well. Even when you go back to the Browns early on in the season, it felt like there was at least a check down. There was at least something you can get it out quick and let your guys do their work. And I think that's what sometimes, especially against these good defensive fronts, I think that's what the Ravens are going to have to do, because basically what's happening is everybody is saying, hey, Lamar Jackson's not beating me once, and it looks very, very similar to the offenses of old when that happens, right? When we're not going to let Lamar Jackson escape, we're not going to let Lamar Jackson move around, and if we are, we're going to be on in tight man-to-man coverage. They're going to be a hat on a hat at all times, and you are not going. He's not getting this ball off, right? He's gonna have to take a sack or throw it away, and I think honestly, that's kind of, I think that's what we'll see from for weeks to come. All 22 NFL films said it too. Like he was like that. He hopes that it's not going to be something we see time and time again because it was successful. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see the Ravens make an attempt to beat people with their route combinations, right? Because I don't even want to say with their route running. I don't even want to say with their receivers, because we know there's talent on this team with their route combinations, based off of the fact of this is what I see in front of me, right? Based off of the fact of Todd Monken, this is what they've been running. This is what I'm gonna do to adjust to it. I think teams are going to once again make Todd Monken adjust. They're gonna make, and because it's funny because we've talked about teams are gonna make Lamar Jackson throw the ball. No. Let's talk about the real issue. Let's talk about forcing Todd Monken to make in-game adjustments, whether it be in the run game or the passing game, right? Forcing Todd Monken to give some sort of in-game adjustments, and forcing John Harbaugh to let his guy be creative and do his thing, right? Like we'll see what that does defensively, because I really don't want to be long, but I feel like with the losses it goes a little bit longer. But defensively, I mean, for no better, there ain't no better term out there than the Ravens just got bullied today. The Ravens got ran over. Like what the Ravens have done to everybody else, it feels like, especially in years past, it happened to the Ravens today. The Ravens got ran over. The Ravens got bullied in the trenches, right? The Ravens got, I mean, like it was like, and sometimes it wasn't even the fact of, oh, it's a big run here, it's a big run there. It was more so just like, even just those 5-yard runs, even just those 3-yard runs were just wearing down the Ravens today. And some of it, and I'll probably mention this a little bit more in the full recap on Tuesday, but some of it I think has to do with fatigue. It has to, because the Ravens have played well against good, I mean, even more talented running backs than Kareem Hunt and what's his name, Ford today, right? Like the Ravens have played better against better running backs, I think. So I think some of it has to be fatigue. I think it's one of those things that as fans we don't think about because we're not traveling with the team. We just getting up on Sunday and watching the game. So I think fatigue could have something to do with it, but I think they have to reel off 2 wins right here, like against the Chargers. I think I'm not. I think the Chargers are the last bit of this stretch. The Chargers and the Bengals, they are going to have to reel off 2 wins right here. They have to, by hook or by crook. And this might be one of those times where you got to go in. It's got to be ugly. You got to go and get the job done. All the offensive fireworks that I think us as Ravens fans want to finally see. You might have to put that aside and just find a way to win on Thursday, find a way to win next Sunday, and hit your bye week, because I think the Ravens will learn from taking a bye week this late in the season from now on, because they could much well, that's how you say that, they could very well come out flat, right? They could very well come out flat on Thursday, and then be a little bit more rested coming back, against the Chargers, and honestly probably play exactly how they want to play against the Chargers, off a longer week. But like this game coming up Thursday is going to be the one that's going to be tough. This is going to be the one where if they come out flat, do not be surprised. I'll say it today. I'll say it Tuesday. I'll say it Thursday on the preview. Or I might do the preview a little bit earlier, but do not be surprised if the Ravens come out flat on Thursday. Simply because like they haven't had their bye week yet. They got a late bye week. They've been overseas. They've been traveling all over the place. They finally get home, and it's still right back to work. It's not like you get home and you truly rest. It's still right back to work. So, here's the thing, taking the bye week late could be a good thing going into the playoffs, right? But taking the bye week late throughout the season can make some of the in-season play look kind of bad. So we'll see what happens, and I think that might be a little bit to do with it too, especially in the trenches. Because when you see teams start to get beat in the trenches, it's either they're more talented than you, and I don't think the Browns' offensive line is more talented than our defensive line and linebackers. I don't think their offensive unit is more talented than our offensive unit, than our defensive unit, I should say. But I think there could be some fatigue there. I think there really could be some fatigue there. But we'll see how it goes the rest of the week. And hopefully Marlon and Ronnie Stanley are okay too as well. I know Ronnie walked off the field, which sometimes can be a good sign. You just never know with that because he looked like he was in a lot of pain on that one. And then when it comes down to Marlo, I mean, he didn't look like he was grimacing, right? Like he walked off the field. He stayed down for a little bit, but he walked off the field. So, I mean, hopefully we'll get surprising. It's never a good thing, non-contact injuries, but, hopefully it's not nearly as bad as maybe everybody initially first thought. But we'll see what happens. So the Ravens, I mean, like the title says, they made me sick today, man. Like just frustrating, man. Just frustrating because this team got so much potential to be really good. This team has so much potential to be really good and really truly take over this league. And I didn't even mention, I didn't mention the other obvious aspect of it too. Keaton Mitchell, four carries in the first half, none in the second half. Where was Keaton Mitchell at? Do we need to go search out for him or something? We need to search all over or something, because where was Keaton Mitchell at after the first quarter that he had? You would think that they would just go with the hot hand, especially, and that's usually how running by committee goes, right? You go with the hot hand, it's a chance to see who has the hot hand and go to that guy. But for whatever reason, this is just, I should say for whatever reason, I don't know why they do that, but at the same time, this is just how they do it. I don't know why they do it, but this is how they do it. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating because that goes back to being passive. That goes back to being conservative. That goes back to playing not to lose as opposed to playing to win. And I think Keaton Mitchell is going to be a big part of this offense. The more and more he gets opportunities, but he gonna have to just make his opportunities. Because let's not forget, it's interesting. It felt very Tyson Williams-esque, right? Without the fumble, right? Tyson Williams fumbled, and then that was the issue there. But it felt, and it was weird because like he dropped the touchdown pass, a tough catch to make, but he dropped the touchdown pass. And it seemed like from there, like we didn't see him not one more time. We saw him, I think, on that little end around where they had him at wide receiver, but other than that, like that was it, which is weird. You don't have anybody with any sort of burst on in your running back room, and then the guy you finally get this guy back who does, and maybe he's kind of on a snap count because of the because he's just coming back, but you finally get this guy back, and he shows the only little sense of dynamic running ability in your running back room, and you're not using him. It don't make sense. And I get it. And, maybe the Thursday night game is lingering in their head too, because, you got to play Thursday. You trying to stay as healthy as you can, trying to get into this, trying to get as close to this bye week as you can. But you got, coming into the day, you had 3 games that you needed to really, especially in the AFC North, because it's so tight right now. This ain't the NFC right now, right? Like, you got everybody in the AFC North competing. Everybody in the AFC North is in the playoff picture, and every game is at a premium. And I'm just, like I said, I'm frustrated by the loss, simply because it's the same story, just a different day. And I think that's where my frustration comes in. Is it's the same story, just a different day, right? It's the same type of loss, just a different week. We've said it even just this season, right? It's one thing to talk about last season and it's a new season and all this, but we see sometimes the same stuff over and over again. So we'll see what the Ravens do. Hopefully they can bounce back on Thursday, because it's a tough one on Thursday. It's a need on. It's you need to win it. It's must win on Thursday. I don't care if you are teetering around the top of the AFC. It don't really matter. It's a must win game on Thursday. It's must win. You gotta win it. You gotta win it. I don't care if you win 5-2. You gotta win it. You got to. It don't matter. you have to win that game on Thursday, because if you don't, you put yourself behind the 8 ball again. But anywho, we're going to get out of here. Far longer instant reaction video today, but when you lose like that, you get a little extra time. All right. But definitely hope you guys enjoyed the show. We'll be back once again to talk about, to give a full recap on this game or anything else I see, because since I made a decent recap out of this, might not need the full recap, but we'll definitely talk about that. But definitely hope you guys enjoyed the show. I'll see you guys on the next one. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening, be sure to hit that heart wherever it may be. Hit that heart, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Flying Speaks on all major podcasting platforms if you want to listen to the show as well. We'll see you guys on the next one. And I appreciate you guys for coming by the way, as well. But until next time.